Hello and welcome to Infotech Rev. Am I excited to begin the world's first full review of the Lenovo Yoga 9i? If you're interested in watching the unboxing and first impressions, see the link below in the description. I really wanted to ensure that all the numbers were correct for the battery tests, for the sequential read and write speeds of the PCIe 4 lanes. So I'm glad we got everything in order, and let's begin this review. Starting from the build quality, the Lenovo Yoga 9i is astounding in every way. You can really just see that the sharp corners now are becoming a staple across the entire competition. The build quality of the Lenovo Yoga 9i is absolutely incredible. It's modern, sleek, very, very attractive, and that thin bezel just below the screen, above the soundbar hinge, is truly extraordinary. A lot of laptops that are 2-in-1s, they will have a relatively larger bezel just above the hinge, so the Lenovo 9i really blows the competition out of the water when it comes to that design feature. And cramming inside this relatively small frame, you have this massive 15-inch 500 nit display screen. The SSD performs extremely well. It is a Samsung, so you will be expected to achieve around sequential reads of 3,400 and sequential writes of 2,950. But do remember, the UK variant has a 512 SSD, while the German, the Canadian, and the American variants all feature 1 terabyte SSDs. The motherboard can support up to 2 terabytes, so keep that in mind in the future. If you're wondering why the review took so long, I wanted to ensure that the tests for the battery life were accurate for real-world test scenarios. So with the backlight turned at 500 nits, of course you're not actually getting true 500 nits, it'll be just slightly below that, and the power mode set to better battery, you will have 3 hours, 39 minutes. Surprisingly, when you put the backlight still at full and you crank the processor to best performance, you will be getting around 3 hours, 38 minutes. So there's nearly a non-existent difference between having the processor low and processor running at full speed in best performance mode. While once the backlight is set to the lowest possible, most dim setting, while the processor is set to best performance, you'll be getting 4 hours, 28 minutes. With the backlight set to low and the processor set to best battery life, you will have 7 hours and 46 minutes of use. One of the most common complaints about the 9i that I have seen floating around in the reviews section is that the battery life is slightly underperforming. A couple people around the world have said, they were expecting better battery life. They were using the laptop and they were anticipating maybe 5, 6, 7 hours of use, but they unfortunately were able to get around 4 hours, which is in line with my findings. Of course, very few people will be operating the laptop at, the energy conserving levels plus the backlight turned to the absolute lowest, most dim setting. So that 7 hours, 46 minutes is not too far from the Mobile Mark 2014, which is expected to achieve 8 hours based on the manufacturer's findings displayed on the website. The weight of the laptop at 2 kilograms is not too different from other laptops competing within this price range and within this product category. The 14-inch Lenovo Yoga 9i, which is expected to come soon, will weigh merely 1.35 kilograms. So it's nearly half as light, and it offers the 11th gen Evo platform. It's also expected to have a lower price. The 500 nit 15-inch display is truly extraordinary. It's almost lifelike. And the fact that it's glossy is a huge plus in my opinion. As some of you may know, the HP ZBook X360 does feature that 600 nit display, but it does come in a default matte finish. Of course, you do have the option to pay a little bit extra for the 600 nit display, but that will delay the shipping time by, depending of course which country you live in, but it's going to be around 2 to 3 weeks. The blacks are extremely dark, rich, and vivid, and the colors are extremely well balanced. The whites are shifting towards the warmer side, so you don't have that kind of 6,000 Kelvin color range. I think this is extremely beneficial when you're overviewing documents or you're on Excel for long periods of times. You want those whites to be a little bit warmer than kind of entering into that whitish bluish category where you would be if the screen was at 5,000 kelvins. When it comes to ultrabooks, which are within this category of 2-in-1s, the Lenovo Yoga 9i is the absolute runaway winner when it comes to sound quality. There really is no other competing product in the market which offers such excellent sound quality. The speakers feature 2 subwoofers, 2 tweeters. Any recording which I would play right now with the microphone facing towards the speakers would not do them justice. So if you're looking at the Lenovo Yoga 9i, you're probably comparing it to the HP Spectre. You may be comparing it to the HP ZBook, perhaps one that's fully spec'd. But it does offer excellent performance within its price category. So it's featuring an Intel Core i7 10750, and you will get pass marks of around 12,691. To put that into perspective, on the pass mark CPU rating, the i9 gets around 15,000. So in terms of price, quality, performance, the Lenovo Yoga 9i really hits a sweet spot. The unit runs relatively cool. The RAM never surpasses the high or mid-30s, so it's an excellent companion if you're on the road or if you're without a cooling mat. The trackpad on the unit is shifted towards the left. Of course, some people love this, some people hate this. I would have liked to see that trackpad slightly shifted towards the center, since the majority of the world's users are right-handed, but perhaps with time you can get used to this. Of course, the reason why the trackpad is shifted so much towards the left is that the keyboard features a numerical pad on the far right. Having said that, there are a lot of manufacturers who've incorporated touchpads with keyboards which featured a numerical pad, and the trackpad is sometimes shifted towards the control key on the keyboard. Having one USB port that's 3.1 on the right-hand side of the unit is nice, but 2 USB ports, as can be seen in the X360 ZBook, is more advantageous. Although we are shifting into a world where eventually everything will have USB-C ports, it is nice to have 2 USB ports as featured in the ZBook X360, because the majority of hardware tends to still use USB 3.1. So you may see yourself purchasing some USB-C to USB-A adapters. Unlike the latest ZenBook Flip S, you will have access to a 3.5mm port, so no USB dongles required. The sensitivity of the stylus is good, but not amazing. Where it does excel is simply in writing, but of course, in terms of advanced graphic use, probably the iPad sensitivity remains relatively unmatched. If you are filling in PDFs, signing documents, doing occasional sketches, the Lenovo Yoga 9i is definitely your laptop of choice. In my opinion, the keyboard is perfect. I love the travel distance of each of the keys. The spacebar is really nice, and the keys are definitely not too close together. As is common with many of the Lenovo laptops, the webcam is by no means a pinnacle of engineering. The extremely powerful speakers may sometimes interfere with video calls, so make sure that you do have headphones with you to ensure that you can drown out the speaker sound. The brick that comes with the unit is slightly larger than what you would see in other laptops, but it does an excellent job at charging the laptop, and it is 135 watts, which is substantially better than the majority of other chargers. As long as you have 2 bricks, one for work, one for home, you are good to go. One issue that I had with the laptop was that when operating on the lowest CPU setting with the power mode set to better battery, I did notice that the left and right keys on the trackpad became unresponsive 3 times. The likelihood of setting the CPU to such a low setting is fairly low, but it is an annoying bug which seems to be present in the unit. Of course, I got out of the whole conundrum by pressing Ctrl-Alt-Delete, and afterwards the trackpad returned to normal. I would be really curious if anybody else had this issue, so please post in the comments below if your 9i had this very bizarre issue. I assume that the majority of users will have the CPU set to balance mode in terms of battery life and power, so this spontaneous touchpad issue will probably not affect you. The strongest point of the Lenovo Yoga 9i is, for sure, its screen. The 500 nit display offers extremely good performance, especially when comparing it to other competing laptops that are slightly lower in price, either from Asus or from HP. If you place the Lenovo Yoga 9i to an HP Spectre, you are absolutely amazed at how large of a difference there is in brightness. So if a bright screen is important for you, definitely get the Lenovo Yoga 9i. If you are in search of a very powerful unit with 64 gig RAM, then get a fully spec'd out, customized ZBook. The build quality of the Lenovo Yoga 9i really shines through, especially when looking just at the rigidity of the lid. HP laptop series, they do have a lot of movement in that lid, and in a 2-in-1, you don't want to have any bend in the lid itself. Considering the graphics card on the unit, the fan noise is negligible. Of course, if you're going from a fanless laptop into a 9i, yes, the fan noise will be considered loud, but considering the laptop, the graphics performance, and the blazing read and write speeds, it is negligible. The rigidity of the screen, as well as the magnetic closure of the lid, are for sure some of my favorite features of the Lenovo Yoga 9i. The Lenovo Yoga 9i 14-inch variant will feature a single USB-A 3.1 Generation 2 USB port, while the 9i 15 features a USB-A 3.2 Generation 1 port. The 14-inch variant of the 9i will feature Thunderbolt 4. If weight for you is an important factor, I would definitely wait for the 9i 14-inch variant. which will most likely feature USB-C charging capabilities. A major difference in build quality between the Lenovo Yoga 9i 14 and the Lenovo Yoga 9i 15 is, of course, that the 14-inch has the leather enclosure, while the 9i 15 has a aluminum full metal build. Although the leather cover will be optional. With the Lenovo 9i 15, you will be able to have access to a GTX 1650 Ti, which is an improvement on the old GTX 1650. Of course, this is not some incredible graphics card, but it will be able to handle any game you throw at it. The Lenovo Yoga 9i is an excellent machine if you are a power user, you really need a 15-inch variant, and you want a really bright, easy on the eyes 500 nit display. That's a wrap of the Lenovo Yoga 9i full review. Make sure you check out the unboxing video and stay tuned for more reviews on Infotech Rev. Hit the subscribe button.